Well, it would be easy to see those pictures of busy beaches and think the British seaside is back. But the data tells a different story, and talking to people here, they say it's really not that straightforward. And that's because in recent years, in Mablethorpe, where we are this evening, and in other seaside towns, they've had high levels of unemployment. Add to that, high numbers of people who work in jobs linked to tourism who've been put on furlough. And so people here have been telling me when the furlough scheme comes to an end, when winter arrives, when, let's face it, making money from sunshine is going to be that much harder, they fear their already tough times are going to get even tougher. The spring of stay-at-home has made way for the summer of the staycation. Our seaside towns rediscovered after decades of decline. The busy beaches at odds with the empty offices in many cities. In Mablethorpe, the cogs of commerce are turning.
Oh, yeah! Welcome to the Blade Runner barber's shop. God save the Queen!
But the picture isn't perfect.
Yeah, this place relies on the holidaymakers, and without them, this place would be absolutely nothing.
COVID-19 has worsened the problems and widened the gaps. When you're telling someone about Mablethorpe who's not from here, who's never been here, what do you say? How do you describe it?
That's actually a good question. It's an old town with not much income.
It's survival this year. It is just pure survival.
Do you think there'll be some businesses in Mablethorpe that don't survive?
Yes, I think there will be.
In seaside towns, the economics make for a precarious existence, hibernating through winter and reawakening in spring.
This has been my life, all my life. But this year's been particularly taxing.
Giving us the tour of his caravan park, Gareth told me many of the families here come back year after year.
Hi!
Hiya.
Hi! What are you filming?
Right now, they're all but fully booked, and they need to be, after lockdown meant they were closed for months.
57!
It's beautiful. It is. It's beautiful, you know.
Okay, sweetheart.
There's not the big money here. That is definitely not, you know, so
But you've got the sea.
you've got to see. Yeah, you can walk down that seafront every day of the year.
But since lockdown, there's been something missing from the seafront. The sand train has been running since the 50s. It's been Paul's job for 18 years, until this year, and social distancing. So what are you doing now?
I'm packing fish in a factory in Grimsby. It's a job. I mean, there's going to be winners and there's going to be losers. I'm a loser, unfortunately, but I'll survive.
Just a mile back that way is the main strip in Mablethorpe with the arcades and the fun fair. But this beach stretches on for mile after mile, and most of it is pretty deserted. So while in city centres, space is the huge problem, and it's why so many offices are still empty. Here, we've got space all around us. Now, they just need to capitalise on it. In the last few weeks, Mablethorpe's been busier than in years. But in the evenings, the town centre feels empty. The day trippers have gone. The holidaymakers are back in the caravan parks. Recovering from the economic shock of the lockdown will be hard everywhere. But data on the sector's worst hit suggests the places that had it worst before will struggle more than most now. Is there a risk that actually now, post-COVID, the gap will get bigger?
Oh, and it will. It absolutely, the gap will get bigger. And we've got to protect our communities, people that live here. We need to look at the skills offering in the area as well. More now than ever, the levelling up agenda is so much more relevant. So everything that we saw with the deprivation measures for our places are far, far worse now.
This travel firm is one of the biggest employers in Mablethorpe, but for now, most of their 30 or so workers are still on furlough.
And we operated through everything, Second World War, the flood of Mablethorpe in the 50s, and then this just completely stopped us. We've never ever stopped operating. The industry needs some support. We are getting it from the local community, from our loyal customers, and we thank them for that. But the industry needs some serious financial support to keep it going.
And without that?
I think it'll suffer, particularly in the winter. Airlines seem to be able to operate almost as normal. We can't. Why is that?
The booking office has reopened and some of Grayscroft's buses and coaches are back on the road. But the end of the furlough scheme is a worry for the bosses and furloughed workers like Sean.
I love that job. The people I take out, the groups I take out, the OAP groups, the children, everything. It's fantastic.
Have you been kind of trying to come up with plan Bs and things like that?
There's no plan B for me. I'm just going along with the flow and hoping that it does end soon. I can get back to normality at work. If not, we'll just take each day as it comes and see what happens.
In the seaside towns where deprivation is widespread and struggle has been the norm for years, for now, there's sun and visitors, and that means there's also hope. Well, the sunshine that brings that hope and holiday makers to seaside towns is likely to bring even more of them over the next few days. But there is also a warning, an amber heat health warning to be specific. The Met Office is saying that temperatures will go up further, likely to be widespread around 30, but in London and parts of the southeast we could be talking about 37, 38 degrees, so officially a heat wave and potentially hotter than Tenerife and Ibiza. So we're told that dehydration is a risk along with sunburn, especially for children, the elderly, and I guess probably also the gingers also. The advice is the sensible stuff like drinking water and stay indoors when it gets really hot, which I can imagine not long after lockdown some people may not choose to do.